Hey everybody, welcome to the Blackjack Apprenticeship podcast from blackjackapprenticeship.com. And we are here with our good friend and star of Holy Rollers, the true story of Hardkind Christians, Mr. Dusty Pink Chip Wisnu.
What's up?
And so this is one of the questions someone wanted us to talk about. I thought you'd be the perfect person to ask about this because you've got a lot of experience, but just talking about team play. So what some people call spotter BP, and a lot of people think team play is the only way to really beat card counting. First off, is that true? Is that your experience?
No, definitely not. I actually played much more on my own than I ever did with team play, but I did do quite a bit of it, enough to kind of remove the allure.
Yeah. So let's clarify a little bit. When we mean team play, we don't mean playing for a team or as part of a team, but we're talking about specifically when you are doing the spotter big player technique where you've got someone that's signaling someone else into tables.
Yeah.
So what's the benefit of team play? Why even do it?
Well, the obvious benefit is that when casino security is looking at you and you're just, walking around throwing huge amounts of money at tables that you obviously haven't been playing, it's great cover. So the theory is you're going to last longer, you're going to get better treatment, you're not going to get backed off.
So instead of starting at the beginning of a shoe,
back counting,
betting small, and then all of a sudden, bam, you're betting 10, 20, 50, 100 times as much.
Yeah.
Now you've got someone that they just leisurely walk up to the table in the middle of a shoe and just throw down big bets.
Yep.
And say, winner, winner, chicken dinner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was
prerequisite?
that was the code word for...
And for a brief tangent, what was your favorite catchphrase?
Oh, monkey.
Monkey?
Yeah,
What's monkey?
Monkey! That's a face card.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my favorite that I used when the first time I was ever the big player was dealer bust time. So I'd walk up and I'd be betting, 2 spots of 500 or 1,000 or 1,500, whatever it was, and just say, dealer's got a 6 up, and it's their turn to flip over those cards. Dealer bust time! It's time. And then it's time for high fives and fist bumps to pit bosses and other players if the
dealers busts. If they're allowed to.
So, okay, back to team play. So the benefits, you were saying the benefit is that you've got one person that's always banging the same. Another benefit is there's only one person's ID that they're getting.
That's true.
So the idea for us when we would have, we gave all the freedom to the players, but one of the reasons we said to consider team play, especially somewhere like Vegas, is, hey, the spotter should be basically invisible. And so we would have someone that it was no longer welcome to be playing at some of the better casinos. Okay, well, they're now a spotter.
Yeah.
So they're either not playing, just back counting and signaling in the BP, or they're betting, table minimum or whatever.
Yeah, and all of a sudden that casino that was kind of off the table is now, they can go and generate EV there.
Yeah, and they can get those hot shoes for the young buck that has just tested out for spotter BP.
Yeah.
So what are some of the pros and cons? Obviously, talked about
pros are cover. And the con, I'd say the biggest con is that it takes way more practice than it seems like. You think, oh, the hard part about learning is learning how to count cards and all that stuff. But team play in this way adds a whole new element that is not something you can memorize off of a chart. It's something you have to practice. And
so what are some of those things?
Having subtle signals in a casino, you're probably not just going to be yelling like, hey, I've got a great count over here. So you have some sort of visual cue for your partner, but the cameras can see all that.
Yeah.
And so if you pull a, like the movie 21 and cross your arms behind your back, they're gonna figure you out pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know.
Or light the cigarette.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to have subtle cues, but they have to be able to be seen from across the casino.
Yep, absolutely.
And then once you've signaled in your BP, now you have to pass the count, and you can do that with a visual cue. But that can be seen by a camera, so the better way to do it is by saying something verbally.
Yeah. So what we agreed upon was that signals to signal in the BP needed to be natural. So something that people are just naturally doing. The crossed arms behind the back. I don't think I've ever seen someone do that in a casino like in 21. It needs to be something, and there's probably hundreds of things people. I'm not going to tell you guys what we use, but just think of something natural that only you guys know what it means. And then what we agreed upon, and we tried different kinds of signals as far as actually passing what the running count was, but we agreed upon a verbal, and we liked Ian Anderson's KISS, keep it simple, stupid, rather than get some elaborate. I know there's some great ones. I love what the Greeks used, but there's some elaborate ones that are pretty cool. But we just thought let's try to keep things simple and say that, okay, well, maybe it's not as clandestine as it's the seventh letter of the fifth word in Greek, but we want to minimize the risk. Like you're saying, there are cons to it. There's risks involved.
Yeah.
I remember passing a count one time as a spotter, and the BP thought I said it's -10 or something. He thought I said 10. Threw out to maximum bet hands. Dealer, of course, drew some 6-card 21, and of course I corrected him, and he was furious, and that was sort of like a valuable and expensive lesson.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think our rule was never pass a negative count.
Yeah, I think I created that rule after that huge failure. So what are some other pros and cons to team play?
The biggest one I can think of is if you're not on a huge multi-state team that's full of Christians, you have to find a partner and trust them with your bankroll, or they have to trust you.
Well,
and you have to put this money into their hands.
Well, I'll say even if you are on a large multi-state team with Christians, you have to trust them with which wasn't to be honest, I remember the first team we were on that I was a part of before Ben and I started the larger team. And one of the main members, he wasn't a Christian, and I to this day, I'd hand him my money. I trust that. Like, he is full of integrity. But that is absolutely an essential part.
Yeah, and it's not the trusting that's necessarily the hard part, I guess. It's the finding somebody. Yeah. The only times that I've merged bankrolls with someone apart from being on the team was with my mom. Yeah. And we're just having fun. We're gonna split the wins after tonight. You know, and she's not an advantage player. Yeah. But I don't know. How does a kind of lone wolf find a partner that they can trust to hand their blood, sweat, and tears to? Yeah. Well, as far as finding someone to partner with, I know people that have run different teams had different policies. Some teams, they use lie detector tests. Wow. We talked about that with our first team, and we didn't really want to go that route. In our opinion, if you're having to trust a lie detector test to trust somebody, it just feels like already there's a distrust. Yeah. And that doesn't mean not using a lie detector test makes someone trustworthy, but we just didn't want to go that route. But sure. I know, yeah. I mean, you're dealing with people who take pride in beating a game, and you can learn how to beat a lie detector. That's funny. That's pretty funny.
I know another team, the guy that runs it, he plays an incredible amount of golf with anybody that's interested in playing, because he said that you will know someone's integrity when you've played enough golf with them. There's so many opportunities, it's super competitive. So many opportunities to
cheat.
yeah,
Interesting.
or to do subtle things that will improve your score. Where you drop a ball or whatever, things like that. I thought that was interesting. We're not golfers, but
Yeah.
but I feel like regardless, it comes down, and people say, well, what kind of person should I start a team with? And I say someone that you trust.
Yep.
You can't teach anybody how to count cards, but I feel like taking someone that you can teach how to count cards, but you're not sure if you can trust them, is so much more dangerous than taking someone that you trust, that you've got their back, they've got your back, and trying to teach them how to count cards. For that matter, I think you need to be trustworthy. You need to really evaluate, well, am I going to be honest about everything? Mm-hmm. If you just don't know where your own integrity's at, and we've all thought through this, and maybe we've even, some of us like found times where we weren't being completely forthright or honest. But if that's going to be an issue, just play with, you're not going to steal from yourself.
Yeah.
And if you are over tipping the dealer, it's only going to hurt yourself, not hurt your team. But
yeah.
So let's talk just a little bit about some of your favorite team play experiences, or worst.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, the first time I ever got backroomed.
Okay.
Was with my spotter.
Uh-huh.
G-Man again. And
Ahab?
Yeah, Ahab. And it was crazy because I'm like sitting at this table and I've been tested out for a few months, probably like 6 months. And right as I was getting onto the team, I saw in one of my wife's magazines like this article about this chick who was a card counter, and it showed like her 3 pictures: blonde, brunette, redhead.
Uh-huh.
She talked in this article about getting backroomed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting at this table like, man, I've been a tested out bona fide card counter for 6 months and I have never been backroomed. What does that say about me?
Uh-oh.
You're
not doing something right.
Yeah. Like, are they not threatened by me? Come on, casino. And so, lo and behold, I stand up to go to the bathroom, and head of security walks over to me and is like, hey, can I talk to you? I was like, sure, what's up? And I just stopped. And he was like, let's go to my office. And I was like, really? Is that necessary?
But inside, you're like,
I'm
yes,
like, say it is.
Finally.
Bring it. I can take it. And
did you have your red, your blonde, or your brunette wig on?
Yeah. I was going all natural, so brunette that night. But yeah, he's like, yeah, no, we need to go to my office.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, okay. So I walk in and sit down, and there are like 5 security guards in there, mostly young people, and I can tell they're just so excited. They're like as excited as me.
Yeah.
This is totally making their night. This is amazing.
They ask for autographs?
Yeah. Yeah, on the band slip. But, a few minutes pass, and the door opens, and I hear my partner like, no, I am not going into a freaking back room. And they push him in.
Yeah.
And shut the door. And he's like so miffed to be in there. I don't know why, because I was digging it. But it was so crazy. It was just like, head of security is this older guy, like 50s, and he's super miffed at us.
Yeah.
You're like, what you do is immoral, right? And I'm like...
And he said, what you do is immoral.
Right, exactly. Like, wait a minute. Because I'm taking money you've taken from suckers, basically.
Yeah.
Like, come on. So, we were in there for like 45 minutes, and, then they let us go and tell us never to come back, and I was like, man, you should call the sheriff. Because he was so upset, Ahab was, for getting pushed and detained there. Like, they wouldn't let him leave. He did not want to be there, unlike me. And he was, like, really agitated about it. I was like, we should call. Maybe we can retire. And he was like, dude, if I win the lawsuit, I'm going to split it with you, because that's how we do it on trips. We split hours. And I was like, wow, that's really generous. That's, like, some big hypothetical generosity points, dude.
Oh, yeah.
But, of course, we call the sheriff, and it's like, you know, what? You were counting cards? They're an Indian tribe. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
We're like, whatever, fine. We'll just go back to work. But that was wild, and I was really glad to have a teammate there.
Yeah.
You know, because it was like, I wasn't scared. I'm like cracking jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas the first time, man,
The first back off?
The first back room.
Oh, okay.
Has got to be pretty intense.
Yeah.
You know? I feel pretty lucky that I had a wingman.
I'm trying to think of if I've ever been backroomed solo. I don't think I have, but it wasn't very long ago. It was within the last year for sure. I went to a casino, played a bit, won a little bit, got a room and food comped, got checked in, came back to play some more, and very quickly they said, "Oh, could you come with us?" And they said, I said, "Oh, sure. Well, can I just leave my chips on the table?" And they said, "Sure." And then they started to walk a little further. I said, "You know what? I'm just gonna grab my chips," which was probably the smartest move I could have made.
Oh man.
So then they say, "Okay, come with us," and I'm thinking they're gonna have me step away from the table, and then they're gonna say what they always, your game's too good for us. We're gonna have to ask you to leave. But then they kept walking, and I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna walk me over to the cashier's cage. Not a big deal. Walk across the entire, because I was in the high limits room, which was on the far end of the casino. Yeah. Walk through the entire casino, and get to the other end, and out of this white door
that totally blends in. It's the same color as the wall.
Exactly that door.
Yeah.
The guy comes busting out and says, "You're coming with me."
So
by this time, I know much more than I did 10 years ago when I was doing this. I say, "Oh, that's okay. I'll just stay right here. I want to stay in the casino. I want everyone to be able to see me, patrons around, cameras, all that stuff."
Yeah.
And he says, "No, you need to come back here with me now." And I say, "Nope, that's all right." And he said, "Are you trying to tell me that you're not Colin Jones?" I was like, "No, I'm Colin Jones." "Are you trying to tell me that you're not counting cards?" "No, I'm counting cards."
Yep.
"Are you trying to tell me this isn't your website?" And he printed out the homepage of our website. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's our website." And he says, "Well, I want you to give us our money back." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So I said,
"Oh my gosh."
I said, "Sir, card counting isn't illegal." He says, "Don't call me sir. I'm whatever the hell his name was." And I was like,
"Don't use that term of respect with me, you little."
And I think these are already explicit because of our previous podcast. So.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh, good, because I was totally gonna say.
So
I can think of some things to call that guy.
So he says, "I want you to give me my money back." I was like, "Well, no, that's all right."
Yeah, it's not your money.
I wasn't doing
anymore.
anything.
Sorry, buddy.
I wasn't doing anything unlawful, and he tried to intimidate me for a little while longer. And he realized, all of his leverage. His first was, "Oh, well, we get him in the back room." His next is to catch me in a lie. But I totally told him the truth.
Yep.
And then for him to just flat out say, "Well, you need to give me the money," I said, "No, that's okay." And
I'll pass.
Yeah, so I think we talked a little bit longer. Nothing very relevant. And I believe he did have steam coming out of his ears.
Yep.
And he said, "Okay, cash him out, escort him to his car. I don't want to ever see him again." Or they also said, "You need to sign this thing." I said, "That's okay. I'm not going to sign anything.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything illegal. I clearly wasn't being threatening."
Yeah.
But they cashed me out, and no biggie. It wasn't even that, it wasn't a large cash out or anything.
Yeah.
And they're escorting me to the car, and that's where I got no cell reception in the parking garage. And it's these two huge dudes.
Yep.
And and I said, "Hey guys, you don't need to walk me into my car. I'm not going to try to run back into the casino and play one more hand of blackjack.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm leaving, and then they say, nope, we've got our orders. And so they keep walking me. And now I'm like, shit, I'm on, private sovereign property. I've got no cell reception. And these guys are bringing me to an area with no cameras or anything. Yeah. This is one of maybe 3 times in my 10 years that I was actually concerned. And so I made a joke I said, you guys aren't going to rough me up or anything, are you? But and then they said, no, or I said, it wasn't doing anything illegal. They said, yeah, we just have our orders. We have to walk you to the car. And I started to feel a little bit better about it. They take me to the car. I get in, and I will not be going back to their casino.
So it worked.
Well, yeah, I guess. Except I want to tell every person I meet to go play that. I don't think I'm going to mention the name because I can't remember it.
Oh.
but if I think of it, maybe I'll post it in the forum and say,
nice.
Hey,
just burn this place.
These guys are a-holes. Feel free to hit them with all you've got. You're not doing anything illegal.
Yeah, and
tell them Colin sent you.
Yeah, that story reminds me of a few things that I think are really important that you don't learn from the charts or even necessarily reading books. But number one is always be honest.
Yeah.
About what you're doing. I had a very similar situation where I won 10 grand in 30 minutes, and the pit boss, whose name tag said Raven. And this was at a mini casino.
That is so Raven.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't help.
You had to. He's like, what did you come in here with? And I'm like, I bought in for like 1,000 or whatever. And he's like, how much do I owe you?
A dude named Raven.
Yeah, a dude named Raven. How much do I owe you now? And I was like, you owe me $11,000. And he was like, you're in the Gaming Commission's website. You're a known card counter.
Gaming Commission?
Yeah.
Gaming Commission keeps track of card counters?
I don't think so, because...
Yeah, I've never heard that.
But he said, you're on this database.
Okay.
You could get in serious trouble for this. I won't call. Mm-hmm. If you just, leave your winnings here.
Oh, there you go.
I was super, super, super tempted to leave my winnings there.
Oh,
and piss my pants.
Yeah.
And then sue. And for he emotionally damaged me. But so
do it in
I
that.
didn't.
You should piss your pants, then
leave your money, right? No, don't leave and then piss your pants. You got to piss your pants on camera.
Yeah.
Leave your money. Cry if you can. But eventually, I was just like, he's like, I'm gonna call the Gaming Commission, and I was like, no, I'm gonna call the Gaming Commission.
There you go.
And I went on my iPhone and looked up the number and called, and by the time I'm leaving a message, he's got a rack for all my chips, and he's like, let's just go. I'm like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But the other thing I started doing that this reminds me of, because, with no cameras in the parking garage or the back room, how do you know? Is I started turning on my voice memos.
Oh, yeah.
On my iPhone.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And recording it. I have some good ones. And it turns it into a challenge to, make it funny. So that you have something to show your friend, and it you feel like you've got somebody there with you.
Dude, if we would have had...
I know.
Oh man, that should have been team policy.
I know. Turn on your voice memo.
And you have to work meow into the conversation
as many times as you can, meow.
Oh man, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So when I finally got a call back from the gaming agent, she said that she had received a phone call, literally the next message after mine was theirs. And so there is this investigation open.
Yeah,
and
wonderful.
They said, you were an advantage player. What did they say to you? And I was like, well, he said I was a known advantage player and that you guys have a website. And she's like, no. We don't have this website. That's nonsense. But what do you think he meant by advantage player? And I was like, I think he meant that I was counting cards. And she was like, were you? I was like, yeah, of course. And she was like, and you don't deny that? And I was like, of course not. And she's like, oh, huh. Well, yeah, as you know, it's not illegal or anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I know. But it seemed very important to her that I wasn't hiding that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because, you know, if you're going to hide that you're counting cards, maybe you'll lie about capping or pinching or cheating in some other way. But, yeah, when asked, that's why I always say, you know, like, do you know why you're here? Maybe.
Yeah.
I might. You know, but never, no, I'm not counting cards. Never.
Why don't you tell me what you guys know, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, how about we ask true or false questions?
And I think that's a really important point is, you know, obviously people that are on our website know that card counting isn't illegal, but there's nothing to even be afraid of about it.
Right.
And so I'm going to tell you my new way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, especially with the documentary, there's been all this press, and there's this question of like, well, there's an inherent assumption that you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. Or a lot of people say, well, you know, almost like, well, the poor casinos, how could you do that to them? Or don't you think that's selfish or immoral? Or, you know, even as ridiculous as, well, but other people aren't doing that, so that's not fair. But here's how I think about it now. Oh my God. That, you know, people say, like casinos say that you can carry a basic strategy card.
Yep.
You know, that's fine. But in my mind, card counting is basic strategy for playing blackjack.
Of course it is.
Card counting is the way the game should be played.
Why would you play it any other way? You just want to lose money?
Exactly. Like, if you're going to play any other sport or game, you want to play it.
You play to win.
You play it the best possible way.
Yeah.
People treat blackjack like the way you're supposed to play it is poorly.
Yeah.
And then a few of these rebels,
jackasses,
they want to come in and do this thing that they're not supposed to do. But that's backward. That's backward. They're thinking about it backwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
The way the game should be played is where you change your bets according to the count, and where you play perfect strategy, and where you deviate according to the count. All of it, that's the way the game should be played. Anybody playing it differently, they're deviating from how the game should be played to their own disadvantage. And hey, if they want to play it poorly, I'm not going to call them immoral or unethical, but I sure as hell am not going to consider myself immoral or unethical because I'm playing the game properly.
Exactly.
Bam.
Well said. Booyah. Yeah, that actually, in a recent interview, I was kind of asked about the whole dishonesty thing. Like, how can you be a Christian and, you know, like, using a disguise and going by a fake name? I always went by my middle name, so that was still kind of honest, but it was intended to deceive. Yeah. And that one kind of stumped me until I started thinking about it, and then I'm like, wait a minute. Tim Tebow doesn't feel bad every time he calls a play action fake. Yeah. You know, part of every game is deceiving the defense. Yeah. And I'm playing a game. I'm a professional. I'm good at it. And
it's not unethical in poker.
Exactly. It's bluffing. You know, like you're intentionally trying to deceive somebody.
It's part of the game. It's part of the job. And I think that it goes into this assumption that what's correct in a casino is to be a sucker. Yep. And it's even okay that casinos are dishonest and deceptive. Yep. With the games and with,
because everybody understands, you know, they have to make money.
Yeah, and it's an assumption that casinos can, you know, talk about winning or say how much, you know, you're gonna win, or even, you know, treat you like a celebrity when you're losing or whatever. Yeah. When they don't think you have the advantage, but then somehow you're doing something dishonest. You know, it's all a game. You know, that's what we've always loved about it, the cat and mouse game. Yep. And it's not. I think it's ridiculous to say that the cat gets to, you know,
cut off the mouse's legs. You're like, come on, you're a cat. Be a cat. You can eat me. Do it. Just quit crying about how fast the mice are. Come on.
Oh, okay. That's hilarious. Anyway, so let me get this straight. A few minutes ago, you were talking about always being honest, and then we start talking about disguises and using middle names or whatever. How do you...
Right. Yeah, and the difference is, while you're at the table trying not to get caught for counting cards...
For playing properly.
Right. For playing the game the way it was meant to be played. Then everything's fair game. and deceiving the defense is part of that. But, Tim Tebow at the end of the game, they walk off the field and talk about their strategy with the reporters.
Give each other a hug.
Exactly. And it's like, shake the other team's hand,
game
give
over.
them a high five. Hey, you lost 20 grand tonight. Sorry about that, man. It's tough. You have nights like that. But you played a great game and you finally caught me. I am a card counter. Good job.
Yeah. So you're saying when you're getting backed off, there's really no benefit in all sorts of deceivery and misinformation.
I don't just spill the beans, but when you're in the back room and they're like, what you're doing, blah, 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 they might think you're cheating.
Yeah.
They're probably not as good at their job as you are at yours. So it's always best to be non-aggressive and honest.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And, when I first started, I think I even wrote a blog post about this, but I used to try to be confrontational, and not a single time did it help. Did it reverse a back off? Or, however, when I decided, you know what, being an asshole isn't getting me anywhere, I'm gonna be who I am. The game's over, and it actually has gotten them to decide not to flyer me. Wow. It's gotten them to decide not to have me or ask, trespass me. They'll say, you know what, we're just gonna ask you not to play here, but they didn't go as far as a trespass. And the reason I know they decided not to is because they trespassed the person with me, but not me.
Wow.
Because they were arguing and fighting, and I just said, hey guys, whatever.
Interesting.
And we were talking when we weren't on the air, just about being human and treating them like humans.
Yeah, when you were talking about being in the back room or being walked to the darkest corner of the parking garage by these two big scruffy fellas, it just reminded me of I've been there, and every time I feel that it's awkward.
Yeah,
there are these two guys. I'm being made to feel like a criminal.
Yeah.
And I just try to do things to humanize them, and just engage them in conversation. Like, how's your night going?
Yeah.
And it's never like, oh, well, it was great until you showed up, you immoral punk. These are security guards.
Yeah.
They're not shift managers. They're just glad you're not drunk.
Yeah.
And walking you to your car.
Absolutely. I've had people, outside of the casino when they're walking me to the car, ask for our website.
Nice.
Because they said, yeah, we count cards. We even teach other people how to count cards. And
you ever had them ask for money?
No. Security guard? No.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And I've had actually really good conversations from people as high up as casino managers, mm-hmm. to dealers, to pit bosses, to whatever, like post back off.
Yeah,
because they're human beings.
Yep.
And I, it's not a part of a strategy, but it's just kind of how we've always rolled is like, hey, we put everything out there. We're honest about who we are, and we don't, we'll let that affect things how it does. But post back off, it's like, yeah, this is who I am. Like,
yeah,
here's pictures of my kids, and I'm bummed I'm not gonna be able to play here anymore, but thanks, and hope you guys have a great evening.
Yeah, good luck not getting hit by any other card counters.
All right, well, thanks guys for listening. Dusty, thanks for being here with us.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely, and maybe we'll do this again sometime. For you guys listening, this has been a podcast from Blackjack Apprenticeship. Check us out if you have any questions, thoughts, comments, want to learn how to count cards, want to network with card counters. Check out the site, shoot us an email, and if you have podcast ideas, send those our way as well. So we'll see you guys in the forum or at blackjackapprenticeship.com.